Mikaluk Sedge. Step 1.
For this fly, we're using a number, about a number 6 or number 8, 2 or 3x long nymph hook, and we're using a little bit heavier wire here, even though it's a dry fly, just because we're going to be putting a lot of pressure on the hook with this little bit heavier thread, which is a tan monocord.
Step 2.
Now we're going to take a clump, a fair-sized clump here, because we're going to comb it out, and some of those fibers are going to come out with that stuck in the underfur. It's very important to get rid of all this underfur. The hair won't stack. And elk fur stacks quite nicely because it's quite smooth and shiny. Now tip first, put it in the hair stacker, give it a few taps, and it should even up quite nice. Get rid of some of those odds and ends that are going to be sticking out there, which shouldn't be too many hairs. Now take and measure our tail up so it's about the distance of the hook gap, maybe slightly longer. And trim off those butt ends. And you want the butt ends to end about 1/3 of the way down the hook shank, so they don't overlap with our next wing.
How tightly can you tie down this hair?
You can put quite a bit of pressure on elk hair. It's not as brittle as deer hair. Securely tied in place, otherwise it will twist on us.
Step 3.
Now we're going to add a bit of dubbing, and this is some olive superfine, which is a really good dubbing for a fly like this, quite durable. We'll be quite sparse with our dubbing because we already have a bit of an underbody built up there, and we don't want to have the fly become too thick. Just fill in that space just up to the butt ends of the elk hair. There we go, just neaten that up.
Step 4.
Now for our first wing, we've already selected a cluster of hair that's been stacked and combed out. You can see all of the fibers laying in the same direction. We want them to lay over the back of the fly.
So you're following the natural curve of the hair fibers.
Exactly. I'm going to trim this off. So again, it's using about 1/3 of the hook shank length. You can see the tips of the hair match up almost with the tips of the tail. Put a couple loose loops over there, pull down, and take the loops off in order to keep the wing to lay down nice and tight over the back of the fly without having it flare too much.
Step 5.
Now we're going to add a little bit more dubbing. And again, this is going to be basically the identical step to the one before this. We don't want to go too heavy because we've already got that underbody built up.
Step 6.
And again with another clump of elk fur. And this one isn't going to extend right to the tips of the last clump at all. It's going to be about halfway down, just where the hair lightens up. We're not going to trim this off because this is going to add to part of the head of our fly. Put that securely in place and make sure it's tied down nice and tight. And this is why we use the heavier thread. Because if any step, this is the one that will start spinning on you. What we want to try and do is prop those butt ends of the hair up. You can see the thickness of thread that we've used in there. Just creating a bit of a base with that thread. And trim that off so it's just about, just overhangs the hook eye. Although really it should be more propped up, but that is the distance you're looking for.
Would you glue that thread area?
It would be a really good idea to do that, it would.
Step 7.
Now we're going to take and tie in a furnace or brown saddle hackle. Again, this is a dry fly quality hackle. We're trimming away all those really soft fiber, webby fibers at the base of the hackle, exposing the stem to give us something to tie it in on.
So you're saying the webby hackles absorb the water, and the nice fine hackles up above are, well, they don't allow water to stick to it.
Correct. Now we're tying that that hackle in with the bottom of the hackle facing up. We'll bring our thread right in front of the clump of elk fur. Now the hackles point forward the direction we want them to. Probably anywhere between 3 and 5 wraps, 6 wraps, somewhere in there should be about right. Bring the hackle in front and tie it off at the head. Trim it nice and neat.
Step 8.
Now we'll come in and whip finish for the last step on this fly. Now this is an excellent caddis pattern tied in, probably sizes 12 through 6. And you do have the option to trim both the top and bottom of the hackle, so you just have a few poking out the side. Although may have the fly ride a little nicer in the water. It does tend to spin while you're casting, tangle up your leader. Really durable fly.